This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 261, recorded on May 19th, 2016. Here at Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all through the Average Tech Guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy.TV studios here in just a beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. Mike Weger, the weather out there, because I get so much traction on my weather tweet, I figured we'll spend the rest of the podcast talking about weather. Great weather here in Nebraska right
You
now.
just can't beat it. I tried to spend as much time as I could outside today. Went and sat outside at a coffee shop with my sister and caught up with her. It's perfect.
It's amazing. And then we get like that 2-week window, and then it just goes to hell after that. And the heat comes, and it's hotter than hell, and the bugs come, and it's just awful. So in this 2-week period, it's always great to be in Nebraska. Of course, we post the show with world-class show notes each week out at theaverageguy.tv. You can also join us live on our new mobile app. Surprisingly, more and more of you are doing that. If you head over to homegadgetgeeks.com, 2 big buttons, even for us fat-fingered guys, kind of hard to miss. You can either do your iPhone or your Android, no Windows, but iPhone, Android, 1 click or maybe 2. Subscribe. Get that. If you're on the road, you can always listen to us live, or the recorded version a little bit later. You can stream that. It is on the iPhone streaming only. Android, I think, will let you download, but a great way to consume us live if you're on the road traveling, and a lot of you do. A lot of you are moving around throughout the week, and a great way to catch us live.
Oh, and I can vouch for that now, too. The week I had to miss for graduation, I had an event, but on the way home, I was like, oh, they're probably still going. Open up the app, fired it up. While driving, listen to it live. It's fantastic. Best way to, especially while you're driving, and when you're on cellular data, you don't want to stream the video. Just do the audio.
Sometimes it's hard to find.
If you
ever try to find that in the app or whatever, and especially to get the live streaming. So if you want to join us live on Thursdays, but you don't have the bandwidth to watch us on YouTube, head over homegadgetgeeks.com, get that downloaded. We will thank both Spreaker for building that for us and LastPass for sponsoring it, and our friends over at LastPass. By the way, LinkedIn exploit today, right? I think millions of passwords were exposed. So if you're a LinkedIn user, you might want to just go change your password even during the show. That would be okay. If you go out and change your LinkedIn password, that would be a good safety thing to do. Also, last week on the show, I appreciate it. I mentioned, I had a little problem with Amazon, and someone kind of hacked into my account and spent some money, and they were stupid criminals, and I got it all back, which is just crazy. They bought gift cards, then they bought things with the gift cards, then they returned them, which put it back on the gift card balance. And then they didn't do anything with it. It was twice they did that. Another account, they bought gift cards and then left it in the gift card account. Mike, have you ever heard of giftgyft.com?
I have not.
So it's this gift card site, right? I think it's actually the Russian mafia, but it is one of those things you can buy gift cards there. So they bought $200 worth of gift cards and then left them in the gift card account. They had created, I never created it. They created it for me using my email address. This is how stupid they were. They used my email address and the password they had hacked, which I knew at the time, and so I just logged into it, and there the money was right there. So then I just changed it, and then I just transferred the money back to Amazon. I was like, how stupid are you? You had access to everything.
Smart enough to get the password, not smart enough to be efficient with using the password.
No, they were. I don't know if they knew what they were doing, but they. I appreciate some of you said Amazon does have 2-factor. I mentioned that last week that I wished Amazon had 2-factor, and they do. So if you're a heavy Amazon user and you're not sharing it, this is where it gets a little complicated. I share my Amazon account with my wife, and that gets a little complicated with 2-factor because she won't have the phone on her when she's logging into the account using my credentials. But a couple of you sent me emails and said, hey, Jim, Amazon does have 2-factor. And so I appreciate your feedback each and every week when we get that. Jim at theaverageguy.tv if you want to correct us, and that's okay. We love those kinds of things as well. So we've got a great show ahead for you tonight. Hopefully you've been hearing us as we've been promoting this, and we have Emily and James coming over from Classy Little Podcast. We've been talking about it a bunch over the last couple weeks, and so Emily, James, welcome to Home Gadget Geeks. Great to have you on here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. I'm actually trying to remember my LinkedIn password now so I can delete it. I'm so worried. Like, oh no.
I saw a frantic email. And I'm just like, it's nothing. I'm not going to worry about it. Who pays attention to LinkedIn emails,
You're probably, I know. They're like, what's this stupid? There's somebody a job. hey, there's 3 jobs in your area that are just like yours.
Someone you knew 10 years ago wants you to endorse them. Like,
those endorsements on LinkedIn are
Jesus.
just brutal, right? They are just brutal.
Apparently, I'm really good at Excel, though. I mean, that's all I've
wow.
Excel and PowerPoint. I've had good numbers on there. Yeah,
got endorsed for breathing.
So I put it on my resume. That's what you're supposed to do, right? I mean, that's what I did.
Yeah.
Got me into law school, I think, actually, all those endorsements.
Sadly, I heard that job recruiters actually really care about LinkedIn status.
Really?
Yeah.
It's kind of screwed up, yeah.
God,
Yeah,
I
I was emailed through LinkedIn from Sirius, and I'm like, is this just because I have podcaster in my profile now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We had always asked, I run these social media groups at work, so at Gallup, I'm kind of the social media coordinator for a lot of what we do for our coaching community. And the coaches would always ask me, because I would say, here's our Facebook, and here's our Twitter, and here's our podcast, and all those things, right? YouTube channels. And, somebody would always in the class go, Mr. Collison, what about LinkedIn? And I'd be like, well, LinkedIn's kind of dead, actually. And this is like a year ago. Now, the traffic over at LinkedIn has picked up exponentially in the last maybe 6 to 8 months. It's gotten crazy over there. And I know there used to be a lot of traffic and no interaction, but now I'm getting, when I post my podcasts to LinkedIn, I actually get traction over there. So
Yeah, I do too, yeah.
It's crazy. So if you've maybe forgotten about LinkedIn, now might be a good time to go. Not now. Stop if you got some time. You don't have to do it right this second if you're listening live, but or even the recorded version. At some point, change your LinkedIn password. That is coming.
What will they do with my hacked LinkedIn password? Like get a job?
Yeah, well, I always thought, when my credit card payments were so high that I'd be like, hey, hack it and maybe make a payment or something.
Yeah,
there's no room in there to buy anything. But
That's
they never did.
Yeah, that's what I always think when I can't remember my password for credit cards. And I'm like, oh my God, are you so afraid that somebody is going to pay my bill that you can't?
No, exactly. Well, it is a little weird. I mean, you feel a little violated when someone does hack one of your accounts and you can see, I mean, they were obviously making transactions on my account that I was not making. And you get all of a sudden you get a little paranoid. And of course, we use LastPass, and I went in and changed as many as I could, as quickly as I could, just to kind of secure the banking and, kind of the important ones, right? The ones you don't want them getting to.
Well, I know Jason Bryant, who's in the chat room, his friend, her Twitter got hacked last night, and I think he said it was through LinkedIn that happened, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what they'll do, right, they'll get the LinkedIn password, and then they'll take that username and password, and they'll try it at a whole bunch of different other sites. So a good reason to have multiple passwords, which, again, LastPass sponsors our mobile app, and they make that a little bit easier to they generate those for you, keep track of them. So a pretty good way. I still got some to go. I mean, I think I've got maybe 30 accounts to go in there and just kind of change and get them all separated and different. But the one thing that got me, guys, that I didn't catch early when you think about getting hacked, and of course I went to all my banking sites, so B of A, Chase, all those. I forgot PayPal. And you kind of forget, right? And so that was they got into PayPal and did $200 worth of. This is where I said they bought $200 worth of gift cards at gift.com. Check it out; it's really interesting. And then proceeded to not do anything with them, so they were there when I got there. So I'll just take these back, thank you very much, and I just dropped them right back. And they bought Amazon gift cards to boot, which were easy to redeem and put right back into my Amazon account. So
yesterday I got an email from eBay saying, your account's been used for unauthorized stuff, you need to log in and change, but you have to look so carefully. It was a fake email, but it wants you to click and log in to change your password, and once you type your stuff in, then you've logged in, and it looks authentic. I mean, if you guys want to, you can't see it, but it's
tilt
everything.
It a little bit. Yeah, just tilt it. There we go.
I mean, everything eBay. The coloring, everything, and it didn't look right to me. And luckily, it was actually fake. So
yeah, just remember, if you're listening and you get an email like that, do never go directly from the email. Always go type in
ebay.com, and that's how I figured it out. There was no notification in eBay. eBay was fine. It was just this random email. But they're doing a very good job of making those look extremely authentic, even for those of us who are watching for that sort of thing.
Yeah. PTD said in chat, he said they thought it was only 6.5 million initially. These are hacked accounts at LinkedIn or stolen information. But recently, someone is trying to sell the data from the hack, and they are saying they have 117 million bits of data. So, wow. I mean, that's a good chunk of LinkedIn's kind of, their users. So it's interesting. No one, somebody, here's a hack on a hack. So somebody says, hey, we've hacked LinkedIn. Somebody then creates a database of fake username and passwords and just randomly generates this and then tries to sell that on top of it, like, hey, we've got it, and it's not even the real stuff. So
oh my gosh,
wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's a crazy world out there, and so make sure your passwords are up to date. You guys are from Classy Little Podcast out at classylittlepodcast.com. Highly recommend it. Mike and I have both jumped on the bandwagon with you guys and have been listening over the last 3, 4, 5 weeks as we've gotten in. Emily, I told you it's such a break from I listen to tech podcasts or podcasts about podcasts. That's kind of the two genres I get into, and it's been such a nice break. Tell us a little bit. We'll dig into the wine here in a second, but tell us a little bit. How'd you guys come up with the idea? Emily, I'll start with you. How'd you come up with the idea for this, and why did you create Classy Little Podcast?
Wine, actually, was how we came up with the idea for it. We were drinking wine one night, and we have these conversations where we'll start with the topic and go from topic to topic, be like, oh, I read this article about this. Oh, and did you know this? Because James reads all sorts of articles all the time, and they're all interesting articles that he tells me about. And then I have a job, I told you, as a crossword puzzle editor, so I get stuck going down Wikipedia wormholes all the time, like, oh, I have to look up this clue, and wow, that's really interesting.
Which is still in DOS, by the way, right? I mean, you have a DOS editor. You're serious. I mean, you sent that to me.
I showed you the screenshot. Yeah, there's DOS for when we're there are a few books that we still have to do in DOS, but for the most part we do. We have our own kind of software that's tailored to us, and yep, but DOS
yeah, a lot of our guys will appreciate that. The demographic of my audience is 35 to 55, kind of white male system admin. That's kind of the demographic. And so when you said we're still in DOS, there's a bunch of guys right now. They're saying, I've got a Commodore 64. I've got that they can.
I could probably go to their house and do my work rather than on my house with the new computer because we.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
You sent that to me. So you guys used to work together. You're not doing that any longer. But James, what do you do, and how did you kind of get into the podcasting besides being asked when drinking wine?
I do marketing work for, I'll just call it an architecture firm. It's actually a theater consultant, but it's just usually simpler to say we're like architects for theaters, and I do the marketing and some sales work for them. And I did meet Emily when we were both copy editors on a desk, and Emily wrangled me into it. It was one of those ideas that you were drunk and usually fizzles out, and it actually came into being.
I know. The next morning I texted him, and I'm like, so this idea is still in my head, and I think it's a good one.
Actually, that might be fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're on episode 40? And we in the podcasting world, we kind of say the first 10 are kind of and then it gets better as you go.
Yeah.
Do you feel like for your own podcast, Emily? Do you feel like you guys are getting better and more efficient, and it's getting easier as you go?
Oh, every single episode, it's exponentially, and I'm like, wow, I just edited this episode in 2.5 hours. That's a new record. I get to go to bed before midnight tonight, and it's and then next week it'll probably be something like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I'll celebrate that. But yeah, we've been doing it for a year, and it's still, every week is something new, and yeah. I'll find a trick that I'll be like, oh God, do I want to go back and re-edit some episodes now that I know this? And
or on the technical side, it's definitely gotten better for Emily. But in terms of content, I think after episode 3 or so, we got into the same place we are now. And it's really a crapshoot. Is like to whether a topic will be entertaining or not. 'Cause sometimes it'll be, let's do a show about bugs, and it sounds boring, and it turns out to be a great episode. Where sometimes it'll be, let's do an episode about, I don't know, something exciting, and it just falls flat.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's really
it kind of fizzles.
interesting to see run the gamut.
Well, show 40 is about gadgets, and so I would encourage, if you're going to start listening to the podcast, you head out to classylittlepodcast.com/40. I think gets you there, or something close along those lines. And that would be the best one to start with, and then work the back catalog on the way back. That's always a great way. Go 39, 38, 37. Work your way backwards.
Don't listen to the first two.
And they're always the first ones are always awful, aren't they? That's the that's the struggle you get through. Mike, when you first did open mic night, your very first one, I have these visions of you. You were trying to do all kinds of stuff.
Well, and I was faking it. Like I was trying to do a live show with questions, and I didn't have any questions because I didn't have any viewers. So I'm just like making up stuff as I go, and just trying to. And it's live, and there's like two people, my mom and my grandmother, are watching. So it's really awkward, and it's just the first few, and then you get into it, and you actually start getting a rhythm, and you start getting an audience and listeners, and it's just crazy. Actually, I wanted to do a video from like my first one to my last one, and just like a compilation thing, because it's an area of growth. You watch it, and you're actually like, wow, look at that! Over a year, I've actually learned to do something new. But for you guys, it's so. Yeah, you do. Yeah. For you guys, it's so funny. You are the only podcast. I think I can honestly say this. I'm trying to think. I can say it. You guys are the only podcast where I listen to all the ads or plugs. You guys do them so like you guys are back and forth and fun about it, or they're interesting, or you're plugging the other podcast, and they're great. Like I'm like, they do a great job. Like if I was ever going to sign up for Audible, I'm going to do it through their stuff, because they're just fun about it and stuff like that. So you guys have like this natural back and forth that's like hard to find. That's what I think that's my favorite part about your podcast is you guys are a good blend. So I haven't listened to the first few episodes, but has that always been? Was the blend always there?
I think the dynamic's always been the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's always been there. That's
you've known each other for a while. I mean, and so the chemistry was there because you've known each other for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how we would talk. And it's funny, the first episode, though, we tried to come off as almost very arrogant, like, okay, and we're going to tell you all about wine and cheese because we are these experts. And it's like, no, we're not. We drink wine and we say, yum, this is good.
We drink boxes of mediocre wine and say,
yeah.
Well, whatever it is, it
are whiny.
Yeah, no, it's super good. I love your format, and I listen to Radiolab from NPR, and not into some of their other shows, but I really like where they've gone with Radiolab. And your show kind of reminds me a little bit of that, but not in a pretentious way, because I think they're getting a little crazy these days. But you guys cover your material, you do some research, you spend some time digging in, you got some interesting facts. About, and it's not just the same old stuff. I mean, you guys in the gadget show that you just did, you talked about Leonardo da Vinci and kind of the father of gadgets and those kinds of things. I never really thought of it that way. And I
didn't either until I found the wine, and I was like, well, it's Da Vinci wine. This is the closest to gadgets I'm gonna find in this wine store. Like, okay, I guess he did gadgets. Let's take it home and drink it. And I did some research on it.
Yeah.
I know.
Emily, I'll back you up in a public forum. I didn't know the Da Vinci thing either. I'm just going to say it. Like, when you say, I was like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. I didn't know that random fact. So thank you. You taught me something, so in the future I don't look like an idiot, when I'm having a conversation with someone else. So.
Yeah.
No, so that's good awesome stuff. You guys are doing great work, and so let me encourage you to head out. ClassyLittlePodcast.com/40 to get started. All right, you guys always start with wine and cheese. We'll leave the cheese out because that's not really important tonight.
You can't do anything with a gadget with cheese. You're just gonna. No. What are you gonna do? Get an electric cheese carver? No.
No, that would actually. I'm sure that is.
I'm sure it's a thing.
I'm sure that is a thing. Last week we discovered that there's a USB toaster.
Yeah, and I told you about that, and then I found out it was a link to The Onion. So I know they got me. They get me all the time.
So violated now.
I know. I was like, it takes 9 to 11 minutes to make toast.
Oh yeah, I didn't think that 5 volt would be enough. I think I even said that in the show. But so let's talk a little bit about wine. I'll start because you guys always start your show with wine, and so I went out and I kept looking. I was going through the store, and so I found one called Chalkboard. And every good idea, I'll try and do this in the spirit of Classy Little Podcast.
Nice.
Every good idea always starts with someone going to the chalkboard and saying, "Hey, let's write this thing out." Right? You could Da Vinci, as you guys talked about last week. He sketched all his stuff out, and you think about some of the modern inventions and even some of the old ones done on the chalkboard. So it's a California. It's 2014, and I know you guys will love this part. Sultry aromas of coffee, red berries with notes. Like that, with notes of blackberry and cedar. So if you don't mind drinking wood, that's not like I could never figure out why they would add a wood.
I know. Well, I don't understand why on Sauvignon Blanc they always say it tastes of cut grass, and apparently it's like my favorite white wine, and I'm like, apparently I like cut grass.
You're like, why would you do that? So chalkboard, I think I called it blackboard, but it's called chalkboard, and that's what I'm drinking tonight. Mike, what do you got? What kind of wine is yours?
Yeah, we have got the California 37, and it's from the Save Me San Francisco Wine Company. So San Francisco, obviously, it's my favorite place on the planet, and what do you call it? The central
Mecca.
place.
The
Mecca.
Mecca
that's the word I was looking for.
Go,
I should stop drinking the wine I brought. And the Mecca of all technology and where everything blooms and stuff like that. And the place of Apple, which is my favorite technology company. So
that would have been a good wine that had an apple flavor.
I looked. I was looking in the name. I'm sure there was in the description somewhere, but I didn't have that much time on my hands.
That would have been a good one, too. Emily, what are you drinking?
I have a Long Chase 2014 Cabernet Sauvignon, and I got it from Wine Insiders. They had a special on Derby Day for a case of wine, and it was mixed. You didn't know what you were getting, and it was $66. And I'm like, that is $5 a bottle. That is incredible. I don't even care what kind it is. So I've just been randomly picking it out and being
$5 a bottle?
Yeah, it's kind of like I've been playing Russian roulette with this case of wine, being like, what are we drinking tonight? Okay.
Awesome. That's always nice when you get a good wine. It was cheap, and you open it, and you're like, actually, this is delicious.
That's better than the $8 chuck at Trader Joe's, you know?
It's $8 now. We
is
don't
it
even
$8
have
now? I thought it was $2 chuck.
Yeah.
I think it's $3, Mike. I think it's $3 chuck.
Is it $3?
Yeah, because in Connecticut, you cannot sell wine in a grocery store, so we have to go to, like, we call them package stores. We have to go to a separate store for it. So when I went out to Texas to Podcast Movement, the first place I wanted to go to Target, and I wanted to go in their wine aisle, and that's what I did, and that was my mecca right there. It was just Target wine aisle.
In Kansas City, Kansas, they have this. So on the Kansas side of Kansas City, they have the same rule, but they can sell it in grocery stores if it's under a certain percent, which is like a 3.2 beer. So all the beer companies, and you don't notice it. If you're in the store, it looks like Budweiser, it looks like Blue Moon, but they're all 3.2 versions of the beer. And it's
called beer, right?
So it's really funny if someone brings it from the Kansas side, they're going to be able to drink a few more than the people who brought it from the Missouri side, and it's crazy. I never thought of it, and they don't label it. You don't notice. It's not marked at all, but it is. It's 3.2. So yeah.
Wow.
James, your wine list, but you're doing a mixed drink or something tonight. Are you going straight, or did you mix
rum? No, there was some Coke in there.
Okay.
That's all I did.
And what kind of rum? Do you have a go-to rum that you like to go with, or just
actually Emily gave me a bottle that she got when she came back from the Caribbean, or they stayed at some fancy hotel and they're like, we're never going to drink this. Have it.
Yeah.
Some sort of fancy dark Jamaican rum.
Was it good?
It was from the Dominican Republic, yeah.
James, was it good?
Yeah, it was very nice.
Awesome.
I wouldn't know bad rum, but
it's true. I'm not a run. I do enjoy good Captain Morgan, so that's the sometimes on the podcast that's what shows up in my glass when we're podcasting live. Well, very cool. I know in the tradition of that, we've got some wine gadgets for you guys as well that we've kind of discovered. If you and I'll throw the link to this in the chat room so you guys can follow along. But Coravin makes a system for if you want to. So you bought a glass of wine right in the past, or you bought a bottle of wine. And maybe you're alone. First of all, not good to drink alone. But if you are alone, and you don't want to open that because you may not. Maybe you're not drinking for the whole weekend. It's just Friday night, and you only want one glass. So Coravin makes these systems that you can buy. They actually use CO2 cartridges, although I think they're argon in the CO2 cartridge as opposed to the what would typically be in a CO2 cartridge. And what they do is they have a thin needle. Here, I'll just read this right from the site because that'll probably make more sense as we go. So it says, technology to enjoy the wine one bottle at a time and never take out the cork, right? So this game-changing wine access system allows users to pour out wine without popping the cork, launched in the UK initially earlier this year in a department store. It's a decade in the making, and Coravin technology works by passing a thin, hollow needle through the foil and cork of a bottle into the wine. The bottle is then pressurized with argon gas in order to push the wine back through the needle and into the glass without any oxygen entering the bottle. Its makers assure that after use, the wine will continue to evolve in its natural pace, meaning a single bottle can be tasted on multiple occasions over years without the threat of oxidation. While the partnership with Harris, that's the department store, is positive news for Coravin. It's all been plain sailing for the brand. In June, the company was forced to issue a warning to its customers after it received reports of 7 bottles exploding, a problem that has been rectified since, they say. So an interesting way of, so you think about that, right? Just put that needle down in there and then charge it, and then you can just pour it right out of that when you're done. The needle comes out and that cork reseals. And so, James, go ahead.
No, I just think it's a great idea. I've heard from wine reps who I know who use it all the time. Apparently, it's an expensive product, might be like $300 or $400, but
yeah, they do
there's
retail.
a lot of times when you just want a glass of wine and you figure, well, I'm gonna have to drink this whole bottle or let it go bad.
Oh yeah. God, you have to drink a whole bottle.
Yeah, who could possibly drink?
Darn.
Emily, I don't think struggling with that. The Model 8 is their cheapest at $299, and then the Model 2 comes in at $250. And then the cartridges, which is interesting because you have to buy these cartridges, and I think you get 10 or 15 charges per cartridge, and those cartridges are about $10 each, I think. And so, yeah, not the cheapest system in the world, but if you're drinking wine that way alone and like one glass at a time, you probably have money to spend.
You're probably really lame too.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to be their friend if they're gonna put that wine back without even. Just send it to me. If you
be a good friend, send it to a buddy. Take it over to his house.
Like,
no, that sounds actually pretty cool though. I need that.
Yeah.
We have that happen a lot where, especially at like a party, so you've got a party and people are trying different wines, and then you end up with a bunch of different levels of different wines, and if you could use that would be pretty cool.
I wonder how it works, if it would work with soda, actually, if you could get soda with a cork in it.
So it's not flat.
Yeah.
There you go.
I just drink the whole soda. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, Jim. Do we have to have an intervention now?
I love soda. I could drink gallons of it, and you just have to really be careful because it's not good for you at all. I mean, like Coke is the worst. I mean, you might as well just be drinking battery acid.
You can clean a toilet with it.
I know. It's just not good. And I watch, all my tech guys, drinking Mountain Dew and Coke, and you're just like, oh, that is so not going to end well for you. So enjoy some wine. Go ahead, James.
No, I just remember hearing about this device the first time, and the bartender said, like, yeah, it's argon. I'm like, isn't that one of those gases they detect for in case it kills you?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
What was his response?
He's like, yeah, that's it, but apparently it's fine as long as you're not in a small room packed with argon. You're going to be fine.
Well, they had the 7 bottles exploding, so
it's non-toxic.
Could you imagine how interesting? No, it's the right word. Alarming that would be if you were one of those people and you've charged this bottle up and you're just getting ready to pour it and the thing just explodes on you. How that would be like, oh, that's interesting. I hope no one was hurt in the because that would send some pretty good shrapnel.
Yeah. And they're trying to save this wine. And I mean that's almost worse than drinking the whole bottle is just having it explode all over you.
And after it explodes, it's not like you can lick it off the counter.
You take your shirt and you just wring it out. It's
might have little glass shards in it.
Yeah.
Hold the shirt above your head and wring it out.
Yeah.
Gotta make the best of it. Is that blood or wine? No one knows. No one really cares.
It's possible. Yeah, Jason Bryant's asking where my beer. You can't have a wine night and do beer at the same time, right? You can't do both at the same time. The other gadget, the other wine gadget I wanted to talk about was a sonic decanter, right? And so when you decant a wine, you add certain elements to it. You can run those through, I think, right? You run those through a filter or something, and it adds oxygen and takes out, neutralizes some of the sulfur that exists inside the wine itself. So this sonic decanter that we looked at, and let me throw it's from a Kickstarter campaign. And they actually raised a bunch of money. Of course, you could throw out anything with wine, right? And people are just going to be like, yes, I want to pay for it. So it says the sonic decanter, which claims to be able to improve the taste of wine using sound waves, could soon be stocking the shelves of your local wine shop. Following a successful Kickstarter campaign, where they asked for $85,000 and actually raised $135,000. Hopefully some of that was raised as people were drinking, and then they're like, yes,
Yeah.
this is awesome. Oh, sure, I'll give you $500, right, from that standpoint. About 860 backers to date. The invention is on the cusp of being commercialized, invented by Charles Lionheart and marketed by Dionysus Technology. Dionysus?
Yes, that is a Roman god of wine.
Really?
As opposed to Bacchus, who's the Greek.
Oh, I'm sorry. So Dionysus is Greek and Bacchus is Roman. That's right.
Wow, Mike, we just got
civilized. Yeah.
Holy crap!
Those are the only facts we know.
I know.
The podcast, Da Vinci, now Roman and Greek gods.
This is like being on Classy Little Podcast.
I'm gonna go hang out at some really highbrow place and start talking to people now because I know a lot. I'm gonna be.
Well, the Sonic... very clear in every episode. Classy is very tongue-in-cheek.
I like it. We like it indeed.
I do tell people, I'm like, do not base any papers off of what we are saying. Like, if you are using us as a source, don't do it.
Well, my law professors are in for a treat then, let me tell you. I found you guys right before finals time, which is perfectly placed.
You might have got quoted in some of my.
The law on 420 and all that stuff is, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So it says, in addition to improving the flavor of wine, the Sonic Decanter also allegedly enhances aroma, mouthfeel. I think there was didn't someone say on the last pod they don't like the word?
I hate that
James,
word.
Was that you? Or was that,
no,
was that
Emily?
I hate that word. It's like, you know how some women hate the word moist? I'm like, I'm okay with moist, but mouthfeel, I can't. Ugh.
So it's allegedly enhances aroma, mouthfeel, and finish in minutes, according to its Kickstarter page. The patented technology uses safe ultrasonic sound wave energy to change the molecular and chemical composition of wine, reducing sulfur dioxide levels. After placing cold tap water in your chosen wine into the decanter, all you have to do is push the red and white button and wait for 15 minutes. The device can be operated on a smartphone.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Of course, why wouldn't you make it work on a smartphone? Via the Sonic Decanter app, its makers claim the device also works on closed bottles of wine to the same effect and can also reinvigorate wine that has been open for a few days. So if you're one of those bottles that exploded and that wine's been sitting out for a few days, just put it in the decanter. It's going to revive it right back to. Do either of you use any when you're drinking wine? Do you guys use any of the fancy tool? You know, you're supposed to aerate it and some of those other things. You guys are just straight out of the bottle.
We believe in like aerating it. We usually don't have the patience for that, but
No.
I always notice when we do, it tastes better. But
Yeah, it does.
Typically do anything.
Well, we did something on our Cheers to Water because I found the tip about adding a little bit of water to it, and it kind of tastes the same as if we had aerated it because it lowers kind of the harshness of the tannins a little.
It looks very cool. The product looks very cool. I mean, they have definitely gotten the iPhone, the whole iPhone fit and finish in there, and it looks like you can drop the bottle right into it, and it uses sonic waves to do it. So very, very interesting. As I was doing a little research for this show, I wanted to have some wine things for you guys to kind of talk about. And so since we were going to talk wine, that's a big part of your show, and gadgets, which is a big part of this show, why not put the two together? And so some interesting. There's a ton out there, by the way. I think Mark said it's going to retail for $250 when it comes out. Emily, would you drop $250 on a wine decanter?
No, and when I read that first sentence, it improves the taste of wine using sound waves. I'm like, so like you're supposed to put headphones on your belly when you're pregnant and play Mozart? Like that's what I just picture. You put headphones on the wine, you play certain songs, and wine can taste better depending on what you're playing. If you're playing Nickelback, your wine will spoil. If you're playing 80s Madonna, you'll have a great time. Yeah.
Well, we see some bias in the music, James. What do you think?
That's true. James is the music guy.
Not in the music or the wine decanter?
Both. Both.
No, I'll stand by Emily's music choices there. Rarely will I, but in that sentence, sure. No, I would not pay that much for a decanter when you could pour it into a glass and it'll do the same job. But
yeah,
I think it's cool. It's neat.
Some interesting gadgets adding, they both, are trying to take that. I love how they've taken it to an iPhone or to an app to kind of run it. And so go ahead.
From $250 to free, Speaking of iPhone apps, I actually use my favorite wine technology is the Delectable Wine app. So it's like a scanner because my biggest problem is I judge every wine off the label and if it's under $10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like, sometimes above 10 if we're going to have a nice evening, but usually below $10. So the Delectable Wine app is like you can scan just the label. You just aim it, scan it, and you get some reviews from everyone. You can write reviews if you want to. I've written a few reviews on some wine that we've had time after time, but it's a great way when you're in the grocery store to distinguish between, from 5 to 10, it's sketchy. You're living in a world where, like, you could get something really good or really bad. And so the wine app, Delectable Wine app, it's free. You can just scan it and see if people are giving it good ratings, and I've been able to avoid some and get some good ones. It's pretty good. I'd say about 75% of the time I agree with what they say. Sometimes I'm like, it was a little worse than they thought, and sometimes I think a wine is fantastic that they've rated, 3 or 4 stars. So yeah, it's a great app, and I love it. I don't know, do you guys use any apps to find your wine or rate your wine or anything like that?
No, not really.
No.
I mean, we kind of have our go-to wines when because we're trying different wines in every episode. But if I'm just going into the store for myself, I'm usually buying something from 90+ sellers because they're inexpensive. They actually come from big wineries, and this is excess that they have, and they sell them that excess to 90+ sellers, who then takes off the label, puts in their own cork, and sells it cheaper. But these are 90+ points, all of these wines, and they're usually about under $20 a bottle, and they've all been fantastic.
Is this a website? I have never heard of this, and I need to hear
90
about
plus. No, it's a wine company. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You
Get
access
like really good wineries, and they make very good stuff at a cheap price. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that local to the East Coast where you guys?
No, they're out of they're from all. They actually get wine from all over. There was one because they'll have on their bottle like Cabernet Sauvignon from Lot 3. So we don't know what Lot 3 is, but they know what Lot 3 is. So you can't really say, oh, well, I got this like really expensive wine from this vineyard, but the bottle doesn't say. It's like kind of if you went to a store and they cut out the designer tags on something, but and you got it much cheaper.
Sounds great.
Yeah, they're really good. There was one instance with Lot 5, and I just remember this from an episode, where they got that wine from Argentina, and they happened to leave the cork in, the original cork. So everybody knew what winery it was, so that company had to buy back all the Lot 5 stock that they had. They're like, that was the easiest money we've ever made, was selling it back to that winery because we forgot to take out their cork.
But they physically take out the cork because they don't want it to know. They don't want and to put a new one in.
I think they buy the grapes, don't they?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. Any other, when you guys think about wine technology or anything, is there anything else you've seen or you know about that adds technology to this
There's a great thing that happened this week where this company from California called, excuse me for a second, I don't remember offhand, but they're reverse engineering famous bottles of wine. Like when you process wine, the sugars turn into ethanol. They're just starting with ethanol and adding flavor compounds to try to copy famous bottles of wine. They did a Dom Perignon from 1990, and they're selling it for $50 instead of $200. Right. And people have not been able to tell a difference through reverse engineering this alcohol, and wine aficionados are very unhappy about it. The company is called Ava Winery.
Well, it's basically they're making a Dolly the sheep of wine at this point. They're cloning it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just chemicals, right? I mean, if you can go in and do a complete chemical analysis and then replicate it.
They even argue that there are all these extra compounds when you produce wine that aren't part of this because they're only the basic elements of it. So it'll have less imperfections, I guess. So they're trying to say it's even better than the original bottle they're trying to mimic.
Tastes the same, but better.
I haven't tried them, but I think I would.
Yeah. No. Interesting. Well, it probably would start on a chalkboard is where the math is.
There you go. Bringing it all back around.
That's what I do here. That's my job.
Oh, my God. Jim brings the puns to this episode. That's great.
To bring it back around. Hey, well, let's talk about your guys' gadgets here. James, I'm going to start with you. When you think of like your go-to home gadgets, the things that you use and you use the most and you can't live without, what are those for you? You admitted you're not necessarily a real gadgety guy, but everybody has their go-to gadgets.
Sure. I have a few. I use my Roku 3, which I bought about half a year ago. I use it every day, basically. It's a great media streamer. I don't know the technical term for it.
Yeah.
I have something called a UI mini boom. Actually, hold on.
Okay.
I'm like, where is this mini boom? If you're making that motion of, all right, guys, hold on.
Hold on. 1 second. Let me stand up real quick.
Orange Bluetooth speaker, which actually Emily's husband has one, and he's the one who turned me onto it. And it's got incredible sound, and it's like $100, I think.
What's the name of it?
It's called the UI Mini Boom.
Yep. Yeah, we have one of those too. I bought the version. Hold that up to the camera here for me.
I'm sorry, UI Mini Boom.
Yeah. I think Logitech, right? I think they make that. Those are really those speakers are really pretty cool. The newer ones you can actually put together in a Bluetooth stereo configuration.
Yeah. This one you can do that too. You hook up one on either side. Mm-hmm.
Well, and you guys with your Androids, James and my husband Mark both have Androids. They can just place it on top of it.
Yeah.
And
oh wow.
It syncs. I have to go through the app to sync it. But
yeah, no, it's a really good speaker. I mean, we've got that too. My wife was cleaning houses for a while, and when she would go, she would go into the house. She would just take the speaker with her, set it down somewhere, throw the playlist to it, and then flood the house with music.
Oh yeah,
and it was
it's amazingly loud for being so little. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Emily.
I think my husband got that on mono price. That's like that would be his homepage if.
Hey, let's talk about your husband real quick, because he has a gadget sickness, right? I mean, he would fit in pretty well.
He sounds just like us from the last episode you guys had.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Emily, give us one example maybe of his gadget sickness. If you were to say what maybe a ridiculous gadget that he's bought that you kind of went, serious?
Oh, those new Amazon buttons.
Oh,
those came out. Everything. We have one for red Gatorade. We have one for our garbage bags. We have one for the cat litter, for our laundry detergent. And he's like, hey, there's one for condoms. I'm like, shut up, Mark. Just shut up.
Your husband and I could be best friends. Those are my pride and joy, and I've been trying to throw them at everyone I can. I'm like, here, you need an Amazon button, and you need an Amazon button. They're awesome.
And I also have a 5-year-old who she can't be around buttons. We have to hide them from her because she'll just see it. She won't know what it is, and we'll just get 5 cases of Gatorade one day. And
does that happen?
No, I think they actually have a timer on it.
There's some safeguard, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Thank goodness.
If you've ordered once, the next order cannot be put in until after it's been received by you. So yeah, however long it takes them to ship it to you, and then they can order it right again. So,
Mike, how many buttons do you have now there in the house?
Between 8 and 10. I think between 8 and 10, but they're awesome, and we use them all the time, except for the Tide one. They all of a sudden went straight to only pods, and we don't use pod detergent because we don't like it. It blobs up on our stuff. So that's one down, so we don't use that one anymore. But all the other ones are still great. Gatorade, toilet paper, trash bags, Clorox wipes. I mean, I can't even think of all the ones we have, but we love them.
Emily, helpful or not helpful for you?
I honestly only use the laundry detergent one. I almost got to use the garbage bag one, but he was like, no, I already pressed it.
Mark
I
would
wanted a
jump
Red
in there.
Bull one, but Hannah's like, we don't need Red Bull. We don't need a large bulk of Red Bull. That's not what we need at this point. That's not what you need. I'm like, well, it's still just cool.
I know, yeah.
They announced that as an April Fool's joke, didn't they? Like they were trying to confuse the consumer. I think Amazon came out with a button on April 1st.
I think
like, oh, it's no joke, but guess what? It's actually real.
Yeah.
I know they're crazy. I have not done one of them yet.
I need one for my dog food. Is what I really need one for. And
that's a good one.
Yeah, all the dog stuff, like my heartworm and flea guard, all that stuff, because that's stuff that first of all, none of the stores have my brand and all that stuff. So if they had it on there, it'd be Amazon would get even more of my money, and they already get most of it. So.
I know, yeah. Amazon boxes. If I come home and there isn't an Amazon box, I'm pretty surprised.
You and my wife probably have the same syndrome where you come home and like, there's no Amazon box. Like,
Michael, Amazon has been losing money for like 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, the company loses money every year. Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me. But I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, as long as I'm getting my stuff to my house,
I
you can
think that's a fake loss because they invest so much back into the company. Everything they do, they invest back in. Every dime they've ever made gets invested back in. And so I think with Bezos, right? Isn't that is it Jeff Bezos?
Yep, Jeff Bezos. Yep.
Yeah, I think he's just pouring it back in. They want to dominate. But Mike, why can't we have a button that you just program to whatever you want? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Well, they're hackable. That's the fun part about it. So they've actually done, if you watch the videos, they can hack these buttons. And the way you program is already pretty cool. You set up your phone, and it makes a noise out of the speaker, and that noise programs the button. Pretty interesting. But, yeah, they're actually hackable. So if
Mark,
you're
turn this
real
off
cool,
right
you
now.
could.
Don't watch, Mark. Don't watch.
Yeah. No, Mark, you can hack them. They're great. I'll send you the video later, man. I'll get your email.
Buy 100.
Yeah.
Buy 100 of them, Mark.
What's the best part?
be
The buttons are free. That's the hard part about them because they're cost $5, but you get $5 off the first time you order. So that's the hard part for me. I'm like, well, why not? I'm just going to order them all, and as long as I order once, they're free. So good enough for me.
So Brian put the link to it in the chat room of the AWS IoT button, limited release programmable dash button. So
nice! Look at that.
Nice.
That's the device out there. If you head out there, we'll include that link inside the show notes so you can get access to it if you want to have.
There's your go live button, Jim. You hit it tweets it out.
Wow.
261 is what you want. You can get the link to this. Mark will want that for sure. I can hear that now. I was kind of thinking, why not just program what you currently what you currently use. And now, have either of you gotten into the Echo or any of the Emily? Has Mark bought an Amazon Echo? And he's using the buttons, but does he have an Echo or a Dot or any of those?
No, I'm very glad he doesn't. I think because he's seen me yell at Siri so often that he doesn't, and he's an Android guy, so he's like, I don't want that. And it's not that he's paranoid, but he's seen me yell at Siri too often that he's.
But I know you have the Hue lights, so if you have the lights, the Echo is the best way to turn on and off the lights.
Yes,
you know
we do. Yeah.
You get into bed and you just say, hey, Alexa, turn off the lights, like that, and then she turns off all the lights in the house. It's wife approved. My wife loves Alexa because of the lights. She's like, hey, just turn off the living room light. We're watching a movie, and she just says it, and it just happens, and she's like, this is fantastic.
What else do you use it for?
I use it for timers in the kitchen, which I know Jim also uses it a lot for. So whenever we're cooking, you got your hands full, right? And the Hey Siri thing for me, as much as an Apple fanboy as I am, the Hey Siri doesn't work on my phone. So
if people are listening to the podcast, you just set off all of their phones right there.
Right. Well, no, I won't because it doesn't work. It's
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So we use it for timers. I use it for all sorts of sport scores and all that stuff. And
lists are great. Lists are great. Say when we run out of cereal, you just say hey Alexa and Echo. Sorry, I just wrote the Echo. Shoot, but it's Alexa's upstairs, and we just say Alexa, put granola or put Gatorade or put whatever on the shopping list, and then when my wife is out shopping, she's got an automatic list. That's super handy to have.
That's great.
It in, and she's super accurate about that. That is one of those things when you're making lists. Now I figured out she hardly gets that ever wrong when you're ordering something, and so it doesn't order automatically. You still choose, and we still buy locally from that.
She's a fantastic speaker too. Even if you just want a great speaker in your home, so she plays everything. You ask her to play something, and she does it, and the sound quality of it is what I'm impressed with. And then Jim, you use the flash briefing almost every morning, which I've started to use, but you're the master of it. I actually really like it.
When I'm making my daughter's lunch, I'll just say, Alexa, play my flash briefing, and I have it set to NPR News. She goes right into that, and then ESPN radio news right behind that, and so in 10 minutes I kind of get my update.
And you get their voices, which is the best part. They play the audio clips from. She's not reading it. Alexa's not doing it in her voice. It's the actual ones.
We get Mike and Mike. That's for the ESPN
it's always
update.
Mike and Mike on ESPN.
We get Mike and Mike in the mornings. Yeah. One of the nice things about ESPN is they update those literally every hour, and so they're constantly refreshing that. Right. So if you have the ESPN update on Alexa, you get that pretty regularly. So Emily, has Mark said anything about the new Google announcement? They have created a Echo-like device. Oh shoot, I said it again. They have created an Echo-like device.
She's not listening again.
Has he said anything about that? Because that kind of is tied to the Google Now. Does he use Google Now on his phone when he's?
Yeah, well, he uses it more in the car for directions and stuff like that. But I feel like if he is interested in it, he knows to approach me probably at the end of tonight after I've had my wine, and that's when he'll approach me with, hey, so Google came out with this thing, and here is how it will benefit you. This, this, this. You don't have to get up for this. You can do this with your phone. Like, you know.
He's
good.
Elevator pitch he's ready. Trained. Yeah, he's good. You can tell.
He's got you tight.
I don't have that training yet. I'm not good. I'm like, I need this. She says, why? I'm like, I don't really know. And then,
Mark's
then I get shot down. I need to learn from Mark. I need to talk to him on how this whole process goes.
Well, he also, you know, he'll be like, so I bought you a bottle of wine. And also there will be an Amazon box coming, 2-day shipping.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a good. Well, my wife's pregnant, so I can't get her the bottle of wine right now. But I could get her, I don't know, something else. But
baby clothes.
Yeah, baby clothes.
Bring home some baby clothes. And
no, that's for the baby. You need to get her something.
Crying. It's a tearjerker moment.
Chocolate.
I'm not used to these emotions yet. That causes tears, and I don't know why, and it's weird.
Just rub her feet and say, don't worry, in a few months you'll be getting drugs, it's fine.
Okay, there we go.
Everything is going to be fine. Just learn that sentence.
Put her on the centrifuge.
It's going to be fine. When you guys think about, let's transition a little bit, when we think about the future of technology, I always like to ask this question. Things that you're hoping for, James, when you think about technology that's ahead that maybe we don't have yet or that's we're on the cusp of getting right. Any of those gadgets out there right now that you think about, like, man, I can't wait for this to come out?
I've been excited about wearables, but I think the technology is not there yet. I think in 2 years' time, 3 years, they'll actually have a watch that is much more effective and intuitive and better than what exists now.
If you went with a watch today, what would you buy?
I don't know. I'd have to go with Samsung, I think, because I don't have an iPhone. I'm an Android person as well. I think the Samsung Wear, or I don't even know the name of it, but I was impressed with a couple Android ones.
So none of those are enticing you right now, even though the price points are pretty sweet on them.
One of those products I know I will buy, and I'll pay too much, and in a year's time I will regret that decision. So I'm going to wait a couple years before it kind of levels out.
You sound like an Apple fan.
No, James, just wait, because Mark will find a new version of the Pebble, and you will get his old one. Like, yeah, because he's a Pebble guy. He loves the Pebble.
Aesthetically, the Pebble doesn't do it for me.
That's true. They're not pretty, but they're great.
The iWatch is beautiful. I thought about getting an iPhone just so I could get an iWatch, but again, I think the technology is not quite ready. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're right. I mean, this was a gift, and it's fantastic, and I use it every day, and I couldn't live without it. But you're right. The technology, if you can wait a year, even 2 years, 3 years, these things are going to be rock solid and half the price. Because right now there's so much stuff on it that I'm like, you know, in 2-3 years, it's going to be even that much better. You've got the right idea. I just don't have the patience.
Fitness tracker, I don't think it's quite there yet, but I think it will come along a long way.
Oh, they will.
Mike, I say 5 years. I still think we've got a lot.
That's a long time, though. You think of how much stuff has happened in the last 5 years, though?
I know, but I still think we're 5 years from really good devices. I have the Band 2, and it struggles a little bit. And I haven't seen any device yet that I go, oh, this does it. This does everything. It does everything right, and I don't have to monkey with it. You know, the Band has a huge battery problem. Like, if I miss a battery charge cycle in a day, in other words, it's charging right now while I'm on the podcast because I want to wear it to bed so that I can, you know, track my sleeping and all that stuff, right? And so you have to find this spot in the day to get 30 minutes or 45 minutes to get it charged. Well, if I get busy or my routine changes and I miss that charge, I'm screwed. And that's no device.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird when you think about it. When you need a device and you want to wear it all day, when do you charge it? Be great if you could charge it off your body or something like that.
Right, I've thought about that too. Yeah. Can't you just go off of if it's because I use a Fitbit every day. If I walk, can you just recharge yourself? That would be great.
Kinetic. They have the watches that do that. I mean, there's actually mechanical watches. Yeah, as you walk and move, they build a battery. Well, these just take up too much juice.
The mechanical requirements for those are much more than just winding the Rolex or whatever that is going to have to be.
Technological thing I saw in a TED Talk where they can transmit electricity through the air, which is a technology I think will come about sooner than we think. And that'll be a huge turning point. When you don't have to actually charge things or have plugs running everywhere, that'll be a breaking point.
Oh, the battery is the limit right now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right.
That is a great future technology if we can do that without killing ourselves. I'm just afraid with that much electricity flowing through the air. You know, I think if we actually saw, like, if you think about the radio band spectrum, and we saw all the radio waves that are flowing through our bodies, and you'd be like, oh, could that be bad?
That can't be good.
Yeah.
Oh, in college, my dorm room, the industrial-sized router that covered the entire floor of this complex was right above my bed. Like I could have cut out internet to the entire building by just chopping it off, and I just know that was not good. The entire 2 years that I slept under that thing every single night, I'm like, this can't be good. This thing is huge. Like, you're pumping radio waves into my body all night. So we'll see how I turn out in the future. It hasn't had any bad effects yet.
Well, it's a good thing the human race has a Darwinian effect to it. Some of us will survive, and
it's not going to be me though. After that, it's good thing I'm already having a kid. He'll pass it on because those radio waves are going to take an effect.
It's scary to think all the stuff that's going on. Emily, when you think about gadgets on your end that haven't happened yet, that would, we always joke about the wife acceptance factor. My show is like 99.9% guys. I'm just saying, right? You're like our one. Lately, you're the
0.0111% woman right there.
Up in the chat room, right? We haven't had a woman show up in the chat room in like 3 years, right? I mean,
no one knows how to react. Like, oh wait,
should we not say anything?
What do we
oh my gosh,
about?
No! If people listen to me on the podcast, like James will set me off. It's just f-bombs back and forth. So
no, now I know you have the capacity, so it's all good. You're hanging with the guys in our chat room
You're
for sure.
You're a member now,
Yeah.
But anything for you, Emily, as you think about future technologies that we say the wife acceptance factor all the time, right? Because we got to get these purchases past our significant others. Anything, the Echo we mentioned has really great. I mean, my wife has taken to it. Mike's has too. Anything you're looking forward to, or some technology that would help you?
I'm looking forward to less wires. I just want to recharge things. Like, I know there's at IKEA, I always look at it. There's a table or a lamp, and you can put a special phone case on my iPhone and charge it just by putting it on there. And I'm like, but this phone case is so ugly. I just want to be able to just, and not deal with wires, not trying to find it. And with iPhone wires, they're different than all the mini USBs we have for everything else. Mm-hmm. And that was actually why I was late coming in, was I was looking for something that wasn't a mini USB to plug into my microphone. I'm like, I know we have one cable. We have one cable that is, a larger one. And yeah, I'm looking forward to more wireless charging for everything. That's my big thing.
I think wireless charging, battery technology has a way to go to get in there, right? And then I think the idea of wireless charging, or I really think we have a better chance of just every surface becomes a charger from that, So
sure.
It looks like it's a service, but when you set it down, it's actually inductive, as opposed to wireless charging. It's inductive charging.
There's some IKEA hacks where people have built wireless chargers into their tables. I just got a Edge 7, which has built in the wireless charging capability. I don't care enough about it to buy a wireless charger, but I think it's neat.
James, they put it in there for you. You're insulting them by not using it. Come on.
I'll do it. Just for you gadget guys, I'll do it.
Yeah, it'll make us feel better. And then don't actually. Just say you're going to, and then
exactly. It's an empty promise.
Don't actually do it.
Just wait. Mark will have it soon enough, and you can come to our house and find a way to charge it. Yeah.
Emily, is he just on the cutting edge of everything? Is that the way it is?
Not as far as buying things. He can hold himself back with buying things, but he is always interested. I think he's on the Wirecutter a lot and the Sweet Home. Those are his two favorite sites for anything gadgety.
Yeah.
Does
mentioned
he podcast?
Oh.
But he does.
On Unskippable.
Yeah, he's on James's podcast. Yeah.
Now there's the connection. Gotcha.
But he's talking about music, not gadgets.
Yeah.
Does he do any technology podcasting at all?
No.
Why?
I think he would be more worried that he would just spend more money to talk about gadgets.
Thank you. That's why I hate being his co-host, because I spend way more money than I'm supposed to because of that guy sitting right there.
Well, I mean, even when we went out and bought a fridge, we had to go to the Sweet Home. We had to go to, and look at all of these. And then we finally went to the Sears outlet, and I'm like, I like that one. Look, the door. You can open it up. I can put my wine bottle in without it having to tip. Either way, that's all I'm after. It's like a car.
Did you Sears with a wine bottle, Emily?
I know the dimensions of a wine bottle, James. I didn't need to go there with
Need a
it.
tape measure, and that's it. She's good.
Nah, yeah.
Oh, well, he's listening out there now.
Oh,
He's in the chat room, and he says I can only have one show. That's the only thing you can do. So
That's
James,
his rule. That's not
he is
mine.
out there. There you go.
James, it must be a pretty good show if you can only have one show and he's doing.
He's also
music,
new to
so.
podcasting. I think it'll snowball.
He'll get the bug.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, if he's a tech guy, like he was looking at you podcasting, saying, "I want to do that." That just had to happen.
Well, he was the one who, when I told him I wanted to get into podcasting, he was like, "Oh my God, I get to buy a mixer and microphones, and this is great. I'm gonna buy this stuff for you." And I'm like, "It's okay. We have Rock Band mics. It's fine. We can just plug them right into the computer." And he's like, "No.
Not the way we do it.
Yeah, no.
Well, if you're listening live, hang on. If you guys can stay around for a little bit of the post show, we're gonna dig in the post show. We'll dig in a little bit to your podcasting equipment. You guys okay with that? Can we keep you around for a little bit longer and do that?
Yeah.
So that we don't. I did a show a ways back, and I had a podcaster on, and we literally talked the whole show about podcasting. And of course, I got notes from listeners. Too much podcasting. So our podcasting mechanics, we kind of saved that for Saturday. So I thought, well, maybe we'll hang on and talk the podcasting stuff in the post show. Emily, so you talked about you have Hue lights. Any other home automation that you guys have installed that you find particularly useful at this point, or is still everything too early to be useful?
Well, it's not really automation, but we have I showed you before, we have the projector, which is, you can kind of see it above me here, and it goes to the projector screen. And the computer he uses is a Nook, just tiny little, like, itty-bitty thing. Mm-hmm. And he has this Matrix 4x2 switch. And I'm reading his notes. I don't actually know what this does.
I don't know what to say right now.
Yeah, I'm like 4x2 or 4x2, 4 times 2. It's a Matrix 4x2 switch. I can even throw the Amazon link in. He put that in. But,
nice.
Look at that.
But yeah, so we can see what's on the projector, and this is downstairs in our basement, and we can also, there's a switch where we have a wireless keyboard and a wireless mouse in the living room, which is upstairs, so we can switch it between, and he can also come downstairs and play PlayStation 4 while I'm upstairs using the computer because of this switch. It's magic. I think it's witchcraft.
Just say it's magic, yeah.
I think it's a witchcraft.
You do a great job explaining it, though. Like, my wife is the same way. I can do this. I don't know how I can do it, but I can do it. Like, when I want to watch a movie, I click on Plex, and it's just there. I can do it. I don't know how. So, and that's Hannah, too, and she loves it, though. And all our friends are like, okay, now I need to ask you, Mike, how'd you do it? Because Hannah said this thing's awesome, and I approve of what she says. When you tell it to me, you're just a nerd. She's the cool person who actually uses it,
Yeah, and it's really funny because sometimes I'll be editing upstairs and he'll be downstairs jamming with everybody, and he'll watch me research for the show. And both James and Mark came up last week, and they're like, "Hey, so you were looking at a lot of stuff about Inspector Gadget. I'm hoping that's for the show."
He's in the chat correcting you, by the way. He's like, okay, 4x2, 2 out, 4 in.
Okay, good.
He's giving us the lowdown over there.
It's good to have him in the chat room.
Yeah,
Mark, thanks for coming out and listening tonight and correcting.
It's awesome.
I know. He did explain it to me, and sometimes I have to be like, explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. He's like, okay, play school. If you take Play-Doh and you put 4 pieces of Play-Doh in here, it will come out of 2 little spaghetti holes. So I'm like, okay, great.
Great. That
works. There you go.
That works. Well, we know the technology is mature when you don't have to explain it that way. Like when it just works, right? Mm-hmm. As gadget guys, and most of the folks that listen to this show are hardcore into the tech gadgets. We find all these hoops to jump through, and you got, well, if you're standing this way, and if you turn this screw to the left, and then you dance a little bit over here, then it kind of works, And we can't figure out why everybody doesn't want to use it. Because it's like, well, it's because you can't set it up. You have to read a blog post or 2 or 3 or 10 to get the stupid thing set up. And so and then for us, by the time that technology gets general market and it works, we're not interested anymore because it's everybody can use it. There's nothing to talk about, and so it rolls off into that, and people are like, well, that's kind of what's cool technology. We're like, well, that's not cool. It's easy, And so it's one of those things where by the time it gets easy, nobody really wants to talk about it anymore.
Right.
Like cell phones. Like, who really, I mean, there's some cool things. Mike, you mentioned an app and some of those kind of things, but really, we've really kind of stopped talking about the cell phone.
It's stagnant. It's, they're all the same. And we've talked about the fight being over between Android and Apple. I mean, they're pretty much the same exact product. Yeah, it's just what ecosystem you want to live in, right?
You kind of use whatever works. So
yeah, you use what works for you.
Yeah, cool. And you know how the phone, you're supposed to, it makes calls too, and everyone kind of forgets about that. I actually called up AT&T last week because I'm like, I don't want voicemail anymore. Can you just take it off my phone? They're like, oh, you don't want voicemail? I'm like, yeah, I don't want people to think that I'm going to call them back. I'll either text them, I'll message them, I'll tweet them. I'm not going to call them back. I just can't. I can't do it anymore. No.
That's a great idea.
Take it off or what?
They did take it off.
To disable it?
Really?
Yeah. Yep, they were able to. They were like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "I don't use it. It's just my mom or telemarketers. I don't want to talk to either of those people. No." So
when someone calls you, then it just says, voicemail not set up.
Yeah, it'll say voicemail not set up, or because they tested it with me, and I was like, "This is amazing." They're like, "I'm sorry, this person is not available right now." Click.
That's nice, because you're right. It's my mom or.
Right. Yep.
Okay, it's my mom. That's all that I get voicemails.
My voicemail is for my dad.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they're all for.
Isn't that funny? That's like our parents.
Yeah.
Everybody else, if they can't get a hold of you, well, first of all, they never call.
No.
Yeah. Nobody calls first. Like I
text first saying, like, "Hey, do you have a second?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that we've changed that pattern to now we kind of ask for permission to call? Where like 20 years ago, we just called. Like nobody said, "Hey, would it be okay if I called?" And now it's like, hey, you got a minute? Yeah, then you call. Or you just have a text conversation. It's crazy how far we've, the technology to get this kind of communication back and forth is so great. We can do video whenever we want, but nobody wants that conversation. They're like, no, I'll just text. And so it must be, I know it's ease. I also think there's a fear in the communication sometimes of like, I don't really want to talk to you. I just want you to get this information. I want to be done with you.
Yeah.
And so it's funny how we've really gotten away. Well, we have the best ways of communicating we've ever had, and yet we probably communicate less, than we ever had.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, guys, we're coming to the end of the recorded part. We're going to stay around a little bit for the post show, if that's okay with you guys. We'll hang out. We'll dig in a little bit into podcasting gear and talk about it. Cool. We want to say, both Mike and I want to say, guys, thanks for coming on. It's been great listening to your podcasts, and keep going with it and keep doing it. I will look forward to future editions. So 41, have you guys decided what 41 is going to be, and what are you going to cover?
Well, James's birthday is actually May 25th.
Oh, day before mine.
Yeah, exactly. When you said that, I was like, oh. And so James has this thing where whenever I eat something and I'm kind of done with it, he's like, oh, are you all done? Are you going to throw that out? So I started being like, okay, here, James, you can always have my scraps. Yeah. So we're actually doing cheers to scraps, and we're going to go back through old episodes and say, you know what, I did this research. I didn't get to use it on the episode, and we're going to do a whole episode of just, oh, remember in that episode about comedy? Well, I found out this really interesting thing about Sinead O'Connor from Saturday Night Live, and actually it wasn't very comedic, so I didn't throw it in, but I still did the research. So we're just going to do a bunch of those. And
that's cool.
Yeah.
Cheers to scraps.
Cheers to scraps.
But episode 42, we definitely want to get kind of geeky in that, because 42 is the answer to
Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah. So yeah, we're looking for geek ideas for that.
Oh, good. Do you guys are you getting listener feedback, and are you getting people sending in suggestions?
Yeah.
We did Cheers to Friendship because someone suggested
asked
an episode, and also chocolate, I think, was a listener idea.
Chocolate was, yeah.
How do they get suggestions in? What's the best way, or when you guys think about you get audience feedback, what's the best way to get it into you guys? Is it Twitter or email?
Yeah, you can tweet, email, everything. I mean, our website, we pretty much have a big...
It's 99% Twitter.
Most folks are on Twitter.
Yeah, most people are on Twitter.
Yeah. It's interesting because I get a few who email, and I get a few on Twitter, and I get a few through the Facebook group. There's no, one channel. I kind of got to be in all...
Mine was email and Twitter. Email's like, okay, I think, you got one demographic, and then Twitter. But, that was, for me, that was it. Really, if I wanted feedback, it was Twitter and email.
Yeah.
So, Simple.
It's just always interesting when you start talking with your listeners, you know, and they start getting a hold of you and you have those conversations, and you just never know what you're going to get, you know. You're like, huh, I didn't realize that was going to set somebody off.
Right.
Or,
what's funny is people think that on Twitter they're talking to James, and there is this kind of weird thing with like a woman podcasting where they're like, hey dude, I loved your episode, like that was awesome, bro, like yeah, and I'm like, thank you very much.
Emily does all the tweeting. Yeah.
I'm like, thank you very much with an exclamation point, and they're like, oh my god, this is Emily, isn't it? I'm like, yep. Apparently my exclamation points give me away.
Well,
proper
Emily,
English, no abbreviations. Dang, this is a woman.
That's Emily.
That's it. It's spelled right.
Yeah.
It's spelled correctly. Emily, do you find as a female podcaster, I mean, it's getting more common. I mean, it started with a whole bunch of guys. I mean, it was a sausage fest to begin with. But are you finding? Do you connect with other ladies that are podcasting, or are you kind of out on an island?
Yeah, I don't really see it as like, oh, another female podcaster.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we need to be close friends. It's like whoever show I like, whoever I get along with, it's fine. And you know, in some podcasting communities, it's, you know, I never really think about being the minority in there, and they'll get really gross and crass, and then I'll come in, and usually my screen name is Classy Podcast, and they're like, oh no, and I'm like, no, guys, hi. Like,
Well, James mentioned it earlier. Classy is a little bit of, there's a little humor in that. You guys not necessarily safe for work all the time, which I appreciate the humor in it, and so. If you're going to jump out and listen to that, we're warning you. Actually, we should have probably warned you earlier. But
Sure.
well, they didn't turn off your show to go put on our show. Don't worry about that.
Well, just be aware. I always say, you know, be aware as you jump into that. But I think it's terribly funny and really enjoy hanging out with you guys during the week. So thanks for coming out and being part of our show. Hang tight. I got a few things to roll through just to get out of here, and then we'll talk a little podcasting in the post show. I'll just remind everybody, if you have questions or comments, contributions, those things, we mentioned that earlier at jim@theaverageguy.tv, and I always appreciate the email stuff that you send in. Or follow me on Twitter at @jcollison. Mike, since you've quit podcasting, are you still on Twitter? You're still doing all that stuff, right?
YouTube.com/Mike Weger. There's the link I'm giving out, because the vlogs, everything are there, and that's all my content.
You're vlogging pretty regularly now, right?
Yeah. I put up one right before there was uploading last. I was in pre-show for the show.
Oh, that's what you were uploading.
Yeah, and then it finally sent out everything as we were talking. So my computer's been going crazy.
And that's kind of been your project, right?
It's fun.
Getting out of law school and taking the bar.
Until I find my next podcasting thing, which will be after I find out how the stresses of a real big boy job happen in August. Vlogging is my current everyday thing. So
not only a big boy job, but you'll be a lawyer. Let's just be really clear about that.
Yes, I'll be a lawyer and stuff like that. So until I figure out what I can do with the podcast, vlogging is my current thing. So youtube.com/Mike Weger is where all my stuff's at.
Cool. We'll remind everyone the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. I know we've been promising, speaking of Maple Grove, I know we've been promising a Christian Johnson podcast on Cyber Frontiers. Christian and I are just having trouble getting connected and getting that all going. So it was summer coming. We're hoping to get some time, and bring Cyber Frontiers at least back for the summer. But of course, you can get all that through the hosting service at maplegrovepartners.com. If you're thinking about doing WordPress or podcasting, $10 a month to get you started. He hosts both WordPress and the media files, so you don't have to split those up. And pretty good deal if you're thinking about doing that. Check out maplegrovepartners.com. We'll thank Roger over at WLMN Radio. Oh, you guys didn't know we are broadcasting terrestrial radio. You probably didn't know that, James.
Nope.
But
James didn't know. I knew.
Radio.
Yes,
you're
in Grafton, West Virginia.
You guys might want to get agents out in Grafton, West Virginia.
Hey, West Virginia.
Hey, what's going on? We haven't heard from anybody that. I'm challenging them. Maybe I'll send you a T-shirt. Send me an email if you're listening to us on the radio. We'd love to hear if you're actually doing that. Jim@theaverageguy.tv. I still think, Mike, that's going to happen someday. That we're going to get one of those radio guys. I'm listening to you in my car.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, you can also
listen to be listening, right?
Well, they are. I mean, I get reports of it, and they are. You know what I mean? It's in their car, it's on the radio, and it's picked up. So
yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
You can also listen, just a reminder, listen to Home Gadget Geeks on the new Android iPhone app, both live and recorded versions available out there. All day in the iPhone, Mike, I really wish they would stop locking so much down the iPhone and allow that Spreaker app to download. but they don't.
Which I don't know why it's just that app, because I have plenty of other.
You have other ones?
I have other apps that you're able to download.
Maybe I got to get the guys at Spreaker.
I mean, think about every other podcast app in the Apple Store. That's true. Right? You use other podcast apps, and they all download. They're fine. I think it's on Spreaker. I'll just say it.
I think you're right. Rob Greenlee, he's not listening. But Rob, if you are, could you get that fixed? We'd appreciate it. And, of course, that Spreaker app sponsored by LastPass, and there's never been a better time with the LinkedIn hack coming out to be on LastPass. I literally went in and changed my LastPass password with one click. So go in.
That's what I did with eBay. Look at that. Boom. Got the email, and I was like, I'm not going to use your email link. I'm going to use LastPass.
That's right. Go in there, hit auto change, and it will take about, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes, and it changes your password for you, reassigns a new password, and you think, oh, did that really work? And then I went to my phone, and I was locked out of LinkedIn on my phone because the password had changed. And then I went in, copied that password, brought it into LinkedIn, and signed in. So never been a better time to be on LastPass. If you're checking them out, lastpass.com. Remember, it's like $12 a year for the premium, so not very expensive if you want to do that. We want to thank you for supporting the network, the AverageGuy.tv's Tech Scholarship Fund, when you purchase through Amazon at theaverageguy.tv/Amazon. And, of course, if you're in Canada, you can use the AverageGuy.tv/CA to get that done. I forgot to mention in the beginning, we are part of the Geeks Network. And even though we're down an Apple-based podcast, because Mike's dropped out of that, you can get access to a lot of really cool tech podcasts and a few others out there at thegeeksnetwork.com. We're out here every Thursday. We'll be here next Thursday. It's my birthday. We're gonna podcast anyways. It's my party.
Wow, you're making a commitment right now.
Right, I'm committing to it right now.
Go for it. You do you.
We are in. You and me, Mike. It's just you and me.
Love it.
We're gonna talk about birthday gadgets, like things you want things you want for your birthday that are gadget related, and we are here every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out at theaverageguy.tv/live. And I don't have any shows lined up for the next couple weeks. This is the part where I say, we got some great shows coming up. I don't, so we're gonna have to book them.
Which is rare. This is the first time since I've been a co-host.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. There we go.
That's the last podcast. Actually, we'll have a few things for you out there. I just got to get busy on scheduling. And so we want to thank you for listening. Stay around for the post show. We're going to talk a little podcast tech when we do that. And with that, we'll say good night, everybody.